Reclaiming the excitement of Warcraft, a path forward. Okay, just a second. Blizzard has become fat and lazy. Here's my honest opinion. I think Blizzard is so bogged down by their own internal red tape that it's impossible for them to be agile and develop games in any sort of an innovative way because it takes them so long to do anything. It's a situation of being too big to succeed, and I think that's what they've run into. And that's why they keep getting outmaneuvered by these much smaller companies that are much more agile and much quicker to fix problems, address community concerns, and produce good content. That's actually like, all memes aside, all bullshit aside, that's actually why I think they have the problems. And I don't know if you guys agree with that or not. And yeah, I do feel like, yeah, financial expectations set by Activision and the board of directors, it's primarily comprised of people from Activision, has created a situation where Blizzard can't do anything and they have to push out products that might not be fully complete in order to meet those expectations. That's what I think has happened. Okay, like there it is. There's no like huge cabal in Blizzard Activision to ruin all the Blizzard games. It's just because of their structure, they're just at a huge disadvantage.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Warcraft video. So, a while ago, one of my favorite YouTubers, Marquez, made a bunch of videos addressing the various tech companies, and they were actually pretty great. They were pretty constructive, and they were interesting. So today, I actually think it's a great idea to do that for Blizzard Entertainment. We're going to focus on what they can do, what would, for the most part, be solid improvements to this game without tearing the whole thing down and rebuilding it, i.e. stuff that's actually implementable for the most part.
Good.
Kind of a low-hanging fruit, the stuff that can be done.
Suggestions
so let's
for the
kick
game.
it off with something a little bit more fun. Tintable armor rewards. Okay, so visual progression is super important. And it's not because of oh, look at me, look how pretty I am. It's not because of that at all. It's because having something that looks cool that was also challenging to acquire is extremely motivating. Just look at the gear of Vanilla and TBC and how that's remembered, or more recently, look at the Legion Mage Tower and those tints and how cool they are. Well, for the current game, I think it's really quite bad at providing long-term engaging visual rewards. You have things like the Heritage Armor questlines come in for, the Silver Moon boys, and you get a full set with 30 minutes of questing.
Wow.
That's not a lot of gameplay for that much art resources, and frankly, the armor is of very little value and respect because of how common and easy it is to get. What I would do is I would advocate for an armor and tint system. You would start off by having one set of armor for each armor type. This set would be designed to allow for tinting, just like Legion's artifact weapons. Now, these tints would be unlocked by doing a wide variety of game content. Again, just look at how the Legion tints, but we're done, but just more numerous.
They have that with raid difficulties.
These sets, the more, the merrier. Perhaps you could have a core set, and then have variants of that core set that would cater to different preferences, like shoulder size, helm design, just the shape of lines,
I like
things
the shoulder
like that.
Size.
And the strength is that by having these be a natural base set that is designed for tinting, it would allow for mixing and matching with other armor sets, and that would make for a wonderful complement to the game's existing transmogrification system. Doing this right would fill a major hole in what I'm going to call the emotional progression of the game. You know, what you feel. People don't feel that much about item level anymore, and I think for decent reason.
Nobody cares,
and people generally want to, work towards a specific goal, something like a Mage Tower skin. That feels great. And I think a system like this could be part of the solution to really the lack of that feeling that the game seems to have. Next up, PvP currency. So, look, it is clear to me that too many of these is a problem.
There it is.
But I think we can easily find a happy middle ground between where we were and where we are now. So here's the simple version that slots into the game as we find it right now. And we're just going to call it Titan Forging V2. In this system, you could still have an item Titan Forge, but that Titan Forge would be capped at +10 over the base item level. Now, if a bit of gear does not Titan Forge, then don't worry. You can manually Titan Forge it by going through the Titan Forge and using a currency. This currency would be paced quite slowly, but no matter what, you would always be capped to +10 item levels over an item's base. And that means that getting a Titan Forge drop would essentially just be getting a free 1 out of 2 or 2 out of 2 upgrade. Overall, this would be a little bit more slower paced, it would have a bit more player control, and I suspect it would be a lot more palatable to the Blizzard entertainment that we find ourselves with today. Capping things to +10 also has a number of great side effects. It means that, say, base heroic loot is always going to be better than Titanforge normal loot. But it means that people who are running normals can regularly get item level upgrades by re-clearing content in a way that does not have their normal mode Titanforge loot compete with the item levels of base heroic loot. This preserves the value of item levels and the attachment of those item levels to content and to difficulty, and it does not further increase item level bloat for the next raid tier. Like
it makes power exclusive. If you're really good at the game, you've got better gear. Boom, there it is. You do a harder boss, you get a better sword. You do an easy boss, you get a shitty sword. Imagine fucking that up. I mean, really, let's just take a step back. Imagine fucking that up. Kill harder bosses, you get better loot. How do you mess this up? It's so simple.
Larger amounts of Titanforging can, or how Ian expressed in his recent Q&A when he outlined his position against upgrades broadly. Now that's a solid middle ground. Alternatively, you could bring back a gear vendor like patch 5.2. Might not be a bad idea actually, but I think a bit of an issue is that just Blizzard's gearing system doesn't work with that right now. When you can be given a free item level 400 from a Warfront, it kind of does undermine traditional reward schemes like currency. So maybe that weird Titanforging Plus is like the best we could do right now, though eventually I would like to move to a more traditional system as the bread and butter. Next up, economy first professions. So right now professions are very economically inefficient. They are designed so that kind of an individual player can, always be sort of doing something with their profession. They're kind of very small scale, and they often require a lot of bind-on pickup resources. This, I think, has resulted in a system that does not exploit basically the labor done in the game, and that results in players having a high price for goods and services. For example, title cores. Everything that requires them is more expensive than it needs to be because those players who are interested in producing goods as their main form of gameplay can't, because the title cores are bind on pickup. Now, if you think about this economically, well, all of those dungeons...
Well, they had this problem in Burning Crusade with Primal Nethers, and then they made them BOE. They had this problem with Frozen Cores in Wrath of the Lich King, and they made them BOE. This isn't like Blizzard hasn't had this same problem before. It's like imagine having a problem, fixing the problem, creating the same problem again, fixing the problem, then waiting 10 years and being like, oh, maybe it's going to work this time.
Runs, they are labor that we are actually getting very little value from most people. So really following from that example, I would advocate for economy first profession designs, at least insofar as the commodity goods are concerned. I think this would allow for just those of the auction house to get a lot more out of it, but more importantly, it would mean that players who, as an example, do a dungeon, well, they would actually then have a sellable resource with a bind on equipped title core. And this could really help people pay the bills. And I think this would be a lot better than the current situation where really a lot of resources in the WoW economy kind of go unused. Now, Blizzard have talked about how they don't really design the economy. They kind of design the professions in a very traditional game design-y sort of manner. But the thing is, with World of Warcraft, it's actually a very vibrant economy with millions of participants.
You can't design it with only one in mind.
I think they need to think about that. Oh, and also a revamped auction house. I know you guys are working on it. The sooner the better. Next up, actual world events. Why do we still have no good world events in, current year? I mean, let's just start with the Destiny 2 public events. Before you click off, trust me, they're actually quite smartly done. So they last a few minutes. They typically are about enemies pressuring an objective, and that forces you to play pretty aggressively. However, if you're totally smashing through them, then each Destiny 2 public event has a triggerable heroic mode that is a harder difficulty with greater rewards. Now, look, take that. Make that work for WoW mechanically, and just put it in the zones. And there you go. The world is a hell of a lot better. The more of these, the merrier, especially
we fucking had this with the Legion invasions. Like, at the end of fucking whatever, what was it, WoD, right? Yeah, it was WoD. We had this with the Legion invasions. They were fucking awesome. Like, you saw all your fucking boys flying into Westfall to kill some dipshit named Bald Razor that I kept getting fucking people would tag me in a screenshot of the mob. I remember his goddamn name. And everybody was just like, the sky was fucking black and green. You had ashes of a Lars. You had proto-drakes flying in with the might of the fucking Alliance and the Horde combined. It was amazing. It was the most badass shit that they have ever done. And they just got rid of it. Like, why don't they just bring that back every once in a while? Why would that be bad? I don't see why. It would be funny. Like, it would be great. Like, they need to do more things like that. He's absolutely right with the world events. There should be a world event that makes, you know, Red Ridge Mountains for some reason scaled up to 120. Hogger's back. Go beat his fucking ass again. The Gnolls are having an uprising. Go beat their fucking ass again. How big is Hogger? Bigger than Ragnaros. And you've got to kill him. That's the way it needs to be. And that would be cool. And like, what does Hogger drop? 415 gear. And he can beat a raid of 100 people. I guess it wouldn't work now because the servers are so fucking bad, but hypothetically, that's what I'd like to see.
If they're able to increase them in scale and really make them feel like it's a big MMO event, potentially being a lot more dynamic and challenging versions of the Legion invasions that we saw.
Great minds think alike. There it is.
With the Legion pre-patch, which at least were a cool proof of concept that they never followed up on. But the thing is, you could go really so much further. You could have these things maybe affect the status of hubs in-game. You could maybe let them trigger each other. So as an example, if you knock out event 1, that will maybe cause event 2 or 3 to spawn. You tie all these into a theme, and suddenly you have a system that really makes it feel like there's a lot more going on in the zones. Now, let's even go mad. Let's throw some affixes on them. Some weekly affixes for the public events to sort of spice them up. Basically, my point here is more stuff that kind of spawns in and out actually dynamically, that has variable difficulty modes, that just takes place in the open world, so that it's not just... It's just, you know, it's more than just world quests.
I like it.
Actually some dynamicism,
I like it a lot.
Ideally to it. Next up, smart enemies. So almost all WoW enemies just feel like a hitbox with some health, you know, at least out in the open world.
Yeah,
and even those
much.
that do have mechanics just kind of run towards you and start doing their mechanics, and it's kind of boring. Now, think about if those enemies were in any other type of game. It just would not cut it. Now, look, low intensity mobs that are designed to just be carved through en masse, probably they're a good thing for the pace of the game, but I would like it if they added in more special rare world enemies that use the game's new island enemy UI. As an example, the boss of an enemy camp is active. You could maybe have roaming enemies in zones. This could provide a sense of threat. It could make zones feel a lot more dynamic, maybe even providing some kind of unique rewards for players who really are up for a fight. And it could really make the zones themselves feel unique and different. I mean, you could almost have it feel like this sort of souped up version of the mercenary system from Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
I want to say, like, this, and the beauty of content ideas like this is that they're world content, which means that they are available to all different types of players. It's not just people that like to do dungeons. It's not just people that like to do arena. And like, having queuing mechanisms and playing with other people, there are a lot of people that play WoW as solo players. And I do think that WoW should have content for them, but the game shouldn't be designed around them. The beautiful thing about content like this, world content, is it creates an environment where all different people in the game can experience the same thing together, have a shared experience, while at the same time getting something out of it that's unique to that event itself. It brings the world into World of Warcraft, and I think that's really fucking important.
Having, you know, little nemesis enemy characters who will try to hunt you down. Of course, you'd have to make it all work with World of Warcraft, but it could be something that could bring, well, game design back to the enemies that we fight on a daily basis, and not just to those that are in raids and dungeons. And really, their new AI has so much potential, especially with loads of the other things that I'm going to be mentioning in this video, like those public events. Have those public events combined with smart AI
Everything
enemies.
in the world right now is
and
trivial.
I think you could really start
nothing
have something
hard.
pretty special in your hands. Next up, unique reputations. Oh, reps, it's kind of sad. They've all been normalized into the World Quest system, and that just makes them all feel the same. In Battle for Azeroth, there may as well only be one rep, because they all feel the same, and that did not used to be the case.
Yeah.
Sketis felt different to Netherwing, which felt different to Sporagar, which felt different to Shattered Sun Offensive. Argent Tournament felt very different to Wormrest, which felt very different to Oracles and Grizzlemaw. Even a Mists of Pandaria, well, all those reps felt very different, especially, say, the Dragon Rider faction compared to the other ones. Right now, though, there is almost no room for the game designers at Blizzard to design the fantasy of the game's reputations. They all have to fit into the World Quest and Emissary system, even if, some of the quests are, some whimsical turtle punting or something. So Blizzard need to rethink reps. They absolutely can be a cornerstone of the world content experience.
Was that my motherfucking boy Rich W. Campbell gifting 10 subs in my stream? Thank you so much, man. I fucking appreciate that. Thank you very much, Rich. Can we get some hearts in the chat for our boy, Rich? Thank you, dude. I really fucking appreciate it, man. Thank you very much.
They can feel like distinct things with uniquely designed gameplay experiences, yet Blizzard have not attempted to do that since 2013. Even take the Kirin Tor. It's still just world quests. Why not have a quest line where you start as an initiate in their order and you unlock things as you progress through the rep, new content to do, new mechanics, do things like that, so that, they can create an actual progression through gameplay feel.
I'm passionate about reputations. I'll show you how passionate I am. Somebody killed some goblins whenever I was in a group with him. I've got to go max this out again. Maybe I should do that after this. I'll get this back up to Exalted. I'm very passionate. I have Exalted basically every single reputation in the game. The reps in Burning Crusade were the best reps that Blizzard has ever made. Classic WoW had really good reps too. I would say Burning Crusade's reputations were an improvement. Everything beyond Burning Crusade was absolute garbage. The Oracles was good. Sons of Hodir was good. Kalulak was good. Argent Crusade was good. The rest of them were boring. Cataclysm, Baradin's Wardens was okay. The rest of them were boring. Let's see. Where is this here? The Mists of Pandaria, where are they? The Anglers, wherever they are, was good. All the rest of these were boring, basically, minus like one or two that I'm just not thinking of right now. The Warlords of Draenor, the only good reputation from WoD was the Saberstalkers. Every other rep was literal fucking garbage. Ren's Vanguard was good, but it was just too easy to farm out, so it was irrelevant. In Legion, let's see, was there any good reputations in Legion? Talon's Vengeance. Talon's Vengeance was an amazing reputation. I like that a lot. Okay? Yes. No? Hey. Talon's Vengeance was actually fucking awesome. Suramar, I didn't really care a lot about it, but yeah, maybe Suramar. In BFA, every single reputation is just basically a glorified world quest tracker. How many world quests have I done for the Tortolan Seekers? How many world quests have I done for the Proudmoore Admiralty? It's the same for every single one. It's true, but there it is.
Rather than just watching a bar. I think that would be really important.
Yeah.
Next up, differentiating mounts. And this is one of the more out there things in this video, because mounts are just boring now. There's so many of them. Just the new skin's not that exciting.
Bellular, it hurts.
Especially in a world where, say, Guild Wars 2 has mounts with unique traversal mechanics that are actually mechanically kind of cool. So for World of Warcraft, I think that having mount customization slots would be a pretty decent idea depending on the mount type. Now, perhaps this could be really simple. Just have some slots in your mount window. You could put in some, enchanted horseshoes that allow for water walking.
This is my
and
idea.
Maybe you could, put all the existing professional upgrades in there. Then have some basic abilities like a sprint or a charge. I mean, hell, why not have a special, gnome-engineered springed stirrup that lets you heroic leap off your mount into combat? I mean, as long as it's not active and instanced content, there's no balance problem here. And you could have basic slots for all mounts.
No, these things are too complicated for new players.
Specific...
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
So here's Blizzard's perspective. They had to take PvP vendors out of the game because players couldn't find them.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't. How do you know where they are?
Well, you talk to a guard.
Well, they're hiding.
Right? The guards aren't hiding; they're around every corner.
No, but the PvP vendors are. Like, how are you gonna be able to find it? Like, I mean, like you don't. Yeah, how are you supposed to know? Like, oh, I just get it items. I mean, come on. Like, it's.
Listen.
What?
You have to watch these videos with the mind of a Blizzard developer, which is that any new cool feature needs to be balanced out with how confusing it could potentially be to new players. Okay, because as we all know, WoW is getting new players all the time, and it's extremely important that anybody that picks up WoW is never confused at any point in time. So it needs to be as on the rails as possible. Okay.
And that's why the reputations now are all world quest trackers. That's basically it. This is what Blizzard should do with the mounts. Is they should have a base horse. Okay? Let's see. You have your base horse. It's the Swift Mountain Horse. Let's say you get the reputation from the Drusvar. You get the hooves here. Let's say you get the reputation from the Proudmoore Admiralty. You get this little saddle thing here. And each different reputation, you have base mounts, right? Oh, shit, you guys can't see. You have base mounts, like a base horse, a base Kodo, a base wolf, a base ram. And you can augment these different mounts with specific things that make them unique, to where if you see somebody riding on the horse with the magical phoenix head or something like that, you know that they were able to defeat, some boss that's a phoenix somewhere in the game. Like, that would be really fucking cool. And that's the way that I think they need to redo mounts. Because what Bellular is saying is an amazing idea, but I don't think it's ever going to happen. I think making mounts customizable with just cosmetic perspectives is completely more than good enough.
Abilities. Give dragons a breath. Let it do AoE damage. Is that perfectly balanced? No, it's not, but it's just messing around in the world. If all mounts being perfectly balanced means that none of them are interesting, there's basically zero advantages across the board, then that's boring, and I want unbalanced mounts that feel different. Let horses have a back kick stun. Give boars a charge. Why not give hippos a bite? Why not have the elementals actually do something elemental? I mean, that is all a little bit wacky and far out there from where we are right now, but I think that the potential of having mounts be fun again is worth it. And I mean, Blizzard, like, legit, if you guys want to make more WoW token money, make your mounts more interesting. People will do that conversion. And really, I think this would be fun because it would also allow for more varied rewards. And importantly, it could let you better realize the fantasy of riding a dragon, or, having a champion horse that's really speedy, or being a big savage running out in a coked up hippo. All those things could be done with mounts, but right now mounts are just purely a visual thing. I actually do think some mechanics that are a little bit crazy, some of them even a little bit OP in some scenarios, are fine and fun as long as they're contained to the open world, and just let the World of Warcraft be that big MMO playground. Why not?
That's true. Like, what if you had, like, the robot mounts, right? What are they called? Lightforged, right? Lightforged Warframe? What if you could have the Lightforged Warframe use this cannon here to blow up critters or mobs that are, 30 levels lower than you? So you're just running around in this, blowing up critters as soon as you right-click on them. And it's the same with the Gmod, right? Was it GM? Yeah, this thing right here. It's pretty much the exact same thing. Let it electrocute things. That'd be fucking awesome. Like, all these different little things make the game unique and fun and different and exciting. And right now, it's like you look at this boar. What is it? McConnell, say it.
It's boring.
True, dude. True. Like, I mean, this is so sad. Like, I'm sorry to say, but like, we've got all these mounts and nobody gives a fuck about any of them. The only mounts that are unique or special now are gladiator mounts. Like, if
Well,
you
that's
don't
not
have
true.
Well, what else is special besides the gladiator mount?
I think it's the Sky Golem lets you do herbalism faster.
Oh, you're
something
talking
like
about
that.
the unique abilities. Well, yeah, you have the Sky Golem that can use herbalism faster. You have the water walking mounts, and what else is there? I'm pretty sure there's more than that too. Yeah, the Strider. Let's see. Is there anything else? Oh, the Long Boy, and then the Tundra Mammoth, and everybody has the Tundra Mammoth. Everybody wants to have the Long Boy. Everybody wants a Long Boy. Not everybody can afford it, but even now, if you see a Long Boy, people will crowd around you, and it'll be similar to like being a super cool person. See that guy? He just got on his Long Boy right there because he wants people to know that he has more money than they do, or at least not anymore because he bought a Long Boy. But it's the same thing. Long Boys matter.
God. And next, difficult single-player content. Yeah, the lack of this is really showing, and it's mostly because players had over a year of the Mage Tower, being used to that. And I think it really is worth Blizzard considering this as a core gameplay pillar of World of Warcraft. Now, a BFA launch version of this could have looked something like this. So, you have, say, fights, right? But they're...
Sorry, I keep pausing this video. I'm pretty passionate about this. Here's what they should have done at the end of Antorus. They should have had Sargeras, after Mythic Argus died, send down a bolt of red lightning to the Mage Tower and empower it with the primal Titan energies that made all bosses in the Mage Tower twice as powerful, have twice as much health, and do twice as much damage. And made them give another like Fel or like, Sargeras infused ability, or not ability, sorry, weapon skin for your Mage Tower weapon. So it's like Mage Tower 2 and it's fully scaled up. That would be fucking amazing. That's all they needed to do. If they brought back the Mage Tower with all of the same different bosses, I wouldn't complain. I'd be completely happy with it.
Fights with champions of the enemy faction. You get X attempts per week, but it's all framed as being an SI7 mission to take out important members of the Horde. Now, this would have added a new gameplay-focused dimension to the war campaign, and it would have provided content for times just like the pre-Desire
with the legendary daggers
was in a bit of a lull. Next up, treasures and rares. Rares first. I think they should add another tier of rare that actually is a lot more rare and allow for a lot more
rare
room
at all. How
in
about that?
their design. And there's things like, say, players triggering them, through stuff in the world. Blizzard have experimented with that even in BFA, and I think it would be great to see more of that stuff.
I agree.
And then design-wise, I think broadly with rares, I'd like to see them be designed as kind of like 45 to 60 second encounters that have properly challenging mechanics that would have to be executed well, or else you die. Almost like miniature Brawlers Guild.
Yeah, when do they bring back the Brawlers Guild?
Bosses, but actually
that was
in the
awesome.
world. Then as for the treasures, just go back to the WoD model baseline and, we'll see what happens after that. Next up,
go back
creative
to the vanilla
asides.
model.
I think we need more things like Chromie, like the Withered scenario of the treasure room from patch 5.2. Fun, creative asides that are just something different, something new. Take Warfronts. To be real with you, I'd rather Warfronts were solo, or maybe 5 players. And they would give you maybe a pseudo Warcraft 3 experience where you had a lot more control. I'd much rather a Warfront that was a small, fun little side activity designed for gameplay first, rather than just another weekly loot delivery system with player engagement in mind that sacrifices all gameplay and fantasy to fit the broadest possible audience. A move that, often just leaves it having no audience that it appeals to. Next up, zone abilities. Let's have zone mechanics. Tanan Jungle had this nice thing where you would get a damage dealt and taken buff
whenever you stepped in the
stand
lava.
in the goop. And this added a bit of risk and reward into what was otherwise a pretty damn boring zone. Now, you also had things like, say, the Nagrand gliders in Warlords,
and you
but
could fight on
more
them out.
fully embraced. things like this would really allow Blizzard to express the fantasy of their zones through the gameplay.
Fuck
Having
yeah.
the world matter mechanically, not just in terms of what happens, if it happens to have a world quest or not, would be great. So maybe you could have elemental storms, weather effects, strange void tears, and these could all be things which would essentially act as affixes on a zone. Then, within zones, having some more baseline mechanics. I really feel like they just throw the zones to their level designers and their artists, and they create beautiful work, and then they populate it with content. But I feel like there's
they have no creativity in terms of the playability of these different areas, right? Like, what's the most exciting thing about Nazmir? The fact that you can get inside the underwrought Krog and run around. Woo. Now what? What about after that? Gives a fuck. What's Nazmir? Yeah, exactly. Like, there's nothing else to it. Like, all of these different things, like, these zones are fucking boring. There's nothing original or special to them. They're basically theme parks for you to do world quests in that you don't care about, to get a rep that doesn't matter, so you could farm Paragon boxes for shitty items that you don't need, and then you can do emissary quests for items that aren't going to be upgrades. Like, it's like, what the fuck is going on? Like, I mean, think about this. What are you doing? It makes me crazy, man. Like, I just can't get over this. I try, and but like, as soon as I start thinking about it, I go insane. I don't know what the fuck they're thinking.
Rarely unique mechanical designs to set the zones apart, and that seems to be a big area for improvement. So yeah, there you go. I think that for the most part, to be honest with you, this stuff's low-hanging fruit.
Yeah,
I really do think it is that. And actually, Nazjatar seems to be doing some of it, which is kind of exciting. But it's just about, beefing out the experience, making it feel like more than just a weekly set of random incentives that players are going to target for maximum efficiency, because at the end of the day, that's how Blizzard designed the game to essentially be played in a non-punishing manner, because of how they've done their catch-ups. I think these things just could bring some more of the life, just some uniqueness, some texture to the world, because right now, I think my biggest overriding criticism with World of Warcraft is just the game systems feel very overt and non-RPG, and I think things like
the game's boring.
The zones that you go into mattering mechanically.
There
just a game where, say, even with a reputation, where there's a lot more room for a designer to, much like how a designer might get really passionate about, say, the Chromie scenario or the Withered scenario.
Fuck yeah.
A designer at Blizzard could get really passionate about the
amazing.
structure of a reputation and its quests and its progression and its storyline, and actually be able to create that fantasy in-game. And right now, they just don't have the ability to do that, because everything's being put into this big live service-esque feeling, or in the modern sense of the word, sort of
they have like an overlying system, and everything has to fit into
that I think to a lot of the people who play WoW, because it's an RPG, an MMORPG, of course, it just doesn't really feel like it's in alignment with the emotional reason why they play the game. So there you go. That is my thoughts on some low-hanging fruit, some easy ways to improve World of Warcraft. Okay, a few of them are not easy, but I think a lot of them are. I mean, yeah, if we were doing the whole thing again, I would make a different video, but this video is all about what could be done in like 2 years to, steer the ship, not to, rewind time and, I don't know, set a different course, I suppose. So thank you very much for watching this video. Let me know what things you would like to see down below. And with that, I will see you next time.
I really like those ideas. I think that is good. Like, what this guy's saying right here is completely true, and it's what I was saying. I think one thing they really need to do is keeping old content alive. It's so sad seeing a whole world map filled with a shit ton of zones, while in reality, only 6 to 7 of them actually matter.